Good evening and welcome back to Brock News. Tonight we're going to talk about the novel by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It's called Americanah and was published in May 14, 2013. Tonight we're just discussing chapter 1 and we're going to talk with some people to gain more knowledge and get smarter. Talking about chapter 1, I'm just going to give you a resume so you can follow up. Ifemelu is a strong, independent woman from Nigeria who's lived in the US for the last 13 years. She recently decided that she wanted to move back to Nigeria and broke up with her boyfriend for that same reason. In this chapter, we follow her as she goes to the hairdresser of another city because the hairdresser in her city is gone for the weekend. In Trenton, she meets the Senegalese hairdresser Aisha. They talk about hair, marriage, and the differences between the Senegalese, American, and Nigerian culture, all while she's thinking about her childhood sweetheart, Obinze, from Nigeria. Now we're going to talk with 4 experts, starting with our psychiatrist, Gwen. Off to you, Tang.
So when talking about the phrase personality theory, we're basically addressing 3 areas of the human mind, and these are the ID, the ego, and the superego. So the ID is first of all the unconscious part of the human mind, and it is our most primitive side basically, so we are seeking to satisfy our most basic human needs and our impulses, and this is why we say it is given by birth. It is because it is, a biological response to how we make decisions. And so when talking about ego, it is an aspect which deals with the conscious part of the mind. It is developed during the childhood where we are taught how to make rational decisions, and this means that we make decisions based on what is socially accepted and what other people will think when we make those decisions. And lastly, we are talking about the superego aspect, which also deals with the conscious mind. The superego decision-making process basically is based on the morals and the ideas we have of what is right and wrong. So this is where we might feel guilty about the decisions that we make if we think that it is if it is morally wrong.
The psychoanalytic or psychological approach, we see that the main character superego is beginning to challenge her ego, which has been her primary part of her tripartite self for a very, very long time. Since moving to America, she begins to reflect over how the word fat can be perceived and used differently. In America, they use words such as big bone or curvy instead, since fat is viewed very negatively, the connotations of that word. But she realized or says that she's fat in the chapter because her super ego is beginning to challenge that thought. Likewise, she states, "I only became black when I came to America." And also the same way that the word black is used in America as all Africans. They don't see it as different cultures, but more one whole culture, and therefore they have the same expectation and images on the black people, even though they come from very different countries. And therefore, the African Americans feel like they have to act and do in a specific way to fit into the societal concept. Afterwards, her ego is telling her that she needs to braid her hair before going back to Nigeria, since this has been part of the African culture, and therefore she has learned through her ID that she needs to do that as part of her ego. Because she's grown up in Nigeria where they have a different culture and their own specific values. So the main character feels like she has to reconnect with her ID, and she does that because she has been in the US for a very long time, where she feels like she needs to act and do in a way that she doesn't feel is her own doing, but expectations of others. and therefore she missed her home and wants to return to a place where she doesn't have to act differently just because of her skin color.
So does the literary work suggest anything about the psychological being of the author?
Yes, the author is from Nigeria herself and has moved to the US like the main character of the story. So we may see some similarities or identification in the story because the author herself has experienced may have experienced some of the same things as the main character, but we have to apply the biographical approach if we want to read the book like that. Yes. Thank you.
So cutting over to the book reviewers, Sofie Stavshov and Jasmin, the cultural blogger. Sofie, what themes do you find most important in this book?
When reading the book, I found two main themes. The first one being race and racism. The first example of this is when Ubinsi had a bad experience as an immigrant when he worked in London under a fake name, and he was arrested and deported from the country on the way to his own wedding ceremony. Ifemelu has a better experience with the whole migration process, but is still met with racism and stereotyping in her daily life. For example, it is said, race is totally overhyped these days. Black people need to get over themselves. It's all about class now, the haves and the have-nots. And this was said by a dreadlocked white man to Ifemelu. This is a very big difference from back in Nigeria, where they don't feel black, and this just shows how once they move out, there's a lot more racism met by them by the Western world. The second theme is identity, and Ifemelu is a successful, strong-willed, and proud woman who embraces her natural self despite of the American lack of representation of black independence and beauty. Despite all this, she still doubts herself when it comes to moving back to Nigeria. Will she be Nigerian enough, or has America changed her too much? She earlier struggled with her African American identity and the life as an outsider in America, and this expresses that she only became aware or seen as a black when she came to America. This is shown in the quotes, I stopped being black when I returned to Nigeria, and also the quote, I only became black when I came to America.
Now, Jasmin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I agree with Sophie's choices of themes. And in relation to the two other themes, the identity and race, cultural criticism will also play a big part in as a role of the story. In the chapter we hear about America and how the author focused on racial hierarchy and prejudices. Taking her thoughts of the word fat as an example, we hear her think if someone is fat in America, it's seen as a bad word. Not only is seen as a description of short or tall, but also as a more judgment like you're stupid or you're a bastard. So like that was a complete different thing than what she was used in Nigeria.
Now, is there anything we could put into perspective to the book?
To put the book into perspective to something else, we can put in perspective to the song Don't Touch My Hair by Solange. Because Ifemelu, she clearly states how she wants to keep her hair natural, even though people are asking her, why don't you keep it straight? And she also gets braids instead of just keeping it natural. So in the song, for example, in the first verse, they say, they don't understand what it means to me. And later on she says, you know this hair is my shit. Roll the rod, I gave it time, but this here is mine. In the first example, we see how, in the context of the text, Ifemelu depicts how her hair is, how God makes it, and that's why she keeps it curly. And therefore has chosen to keep it natural, even though it's a lot of work and people are always questioning her voice or her decision. And in the second example, Ifemelu talks about how when she first moved to the US, she tried to fit in by relaxing her hair. And when going natural, it feels more like her hair, like in the song, but this here is mine. So no one can tell otherwise, not even the hairdresser, Aisha. And this is also really relevant when talking about black women and their identity regarding what they choose to do to their hair. Throughout history, we've seen how traditional black hairstyles like braids, relaxing,
even relaxing, yeah, but especially like having curly has been seen as sturdy and improper, while straight hair from blonde women has been seen as professional and the right way to be. So when vocally saying out loud that something is unattractive, of course it will make black women struggle to accept their hair and how it is naturally. So for example, when you see Michelle Obama, she's like one of the biggest black women in the country, and she chooses to relax her hair. So you could question why she would do that, and they also do that in the text. And perhaps it's because it's seen as clean and professional, like it's always been, or just because she likes it that way, or she's like conforming to society in order to feel accepted, and because of the Eurocentric beauty standards that also are present in America.
And now, what about a final review from you, Sophie?
Okay, so for my review, Americanah is a novel including many different and important topics and themes. It is written as a Nigerian woman reflecting on her change as she moves and how she lives in America. The writing is biased since the author applies some of her own life experiences, being a Nigerian woman in America, to the text. For me, this adds honesty and makes the text a lot more trustworthy, which makes me like the book a lot more. And after reading the first chapter, I feel a desire to read the rest of the book because I find it very interesting to see this from this perspective. So yeah, from what I've read, I really like it.
Thank you for tonight, everybody. It was a great evening with a lot of knowledge, and see you next time.